Hey, everybody, and a massive welcome to the first in a very exciting new series called Which Cyber Pathway, hosted by myself, Simon Linstead. For those that don't know me, I'm the host and founder of the InfoSec Live community, a 3,000 strong community of cyber professionals formed last year, helping each other raise their game in cyber, whether that's breaking in, becoming a CISO, whatever level you're at, the community has a place for you. And I suppose the one sales pitch of the day from me is do come along and join our free global community. I'll drop the link in the comments a bit later on for those of you who aren't members. But without too much further ado, we've got a really, really exciting show today. And the whole point of this new series is to help, I suppose, dispel some of the myths out there, bring some clarity to those people trying to break into the industry, and also helping those who are looking to raise the game up to the next level who are already in. And for those that have watched any of my shows before, you know that I've got my own opinions on boot camps. I think there's a place for them. I think some of the training providers out there are amazing, but I also think there's lots of room for improvement. There's lots of free and affordable training out there. And the whole point of this series is to hopefully bring a bit of awareness and some clarity to everyone looking for that. So without too much further ado, quick stinger, and then I'm going to bring on our guest for today, who is the amazing Jason Shockey, founder of mycyberpath.com. Big welcome, Jason. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to come on today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. It's been a minute, actually, hasn't it, since we spoke? I think it's got to be a month or so. So I suppose before we launch in, what have you been up to? Anything exciting?
Yeah, just working at my day job as a CISO at a federally chartered bank, and also working on mycyberpath.com at night, helping people with their cybersecurity careers. So
excellent. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And just a big shout out to everyone in the audience. We've got loads of people tuning in as always. And for those of you that are there, hope it's okay with you, Jason, but I'd really like them to jump in and ask questions whenever they feel they've got one, or if you want to leave it to the end and we'll do a bit of an AMA. But the more engagement, the better. And I want to try and get as much out of this for our viewers as we can. And I think for us to start doing that, it would be really good if you could just give everyone a few minutes on your own background and how you came to, I suppose, create mycyberpath.com.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think interaction would be best. I'll give a couple of minutes and then jump right into any of the questions anybody has. So throw them in the chat or reach out to Simon, and then we can just have a back and forth. So my background is I grew up in Northern California. In 1999, after graduating with a degree in chemistry, went into the Marine Corps as an information technology officer. Or cyber leader, you could say. Back then, it was still called, telecommunications management. And what happened was I found myself being in a defensive cyber operations role. That's what it's called now. Back then, it was cyber defense or information assurance. And then over time, I started adding in offensive cybersecurity and then cyber threat intelligence. And over the 20 years that I was in the Marine Corps, focusing on cyberspace operations, which is offense, defense, and intel combined, started looking at how to characterize and translate cyber risk, and then also focused on incident response, also cyber incident response. About halfway through my 20-year career, I looked at what am I going to do when I get out of the military? And I really started questioning, okay, what am I good at? All right, well, I'm a leader. I'm a cyber leader. Where can I place myself in the civilian sector to maximize both what I'm doing for the Marine Corps now over the next, what had been 10 years and the next 10 years to make it 20 years. And then once I got out, how could I maximize and best position myself to be a contributing factor for whatever company I went into? And what I targeted was being a CISO. In 2009, I said, okay, I'm going to be a CISO. I'm going to work in the financial services industry, because there's a lot of the attackers, cyber attackers, want to go after our financial systems. So I knew that there was a large place for cybersecurity and CISOs, the role there within the financial services industry. So in 2009, halfway through my career, what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to be a CISO. Let me go look to see if there's a career pathway to take me to that level, take me where I need to go, show me what I need to get as far as certifications, education, other experience, other training. And what I found was there was career pathways, but they only were targeted towards what was being sold by that entity. So what that means is I was looking at, okay, what certification should I get? That's what I looked at first. It's a great place to start. certifications show a level of technical competence. So I said, okay, if I'm going to be a cyber leader, CISSP is the gold standard for cyber leaders. So I started studying for that, eventually got that. Then I said, what else do I need, right? That's where it brought me to, I need to create my own career pathway because they don't exist the way I think that they should, and the way I think it's proper for everyone to follow. And that's certifications, experience, training, and education. Not just certifications, not just education, but when you combine all four of those things, that's very powerful. And the empirical evidence that I found over with myself, I actually used the cyber leader pathway within mycyberpath.com, became a CISO while I was on terminal leave, which means the military gives you time to look for a job while you're active duty. So I walked into my CISO position while on terminal leave. Didn't take maybe 2 weeks of a break just to move up to New Jersey from Fort Meade, Maryland, and started as a CISO. All of that to say, the evidence that I found proved that the pathway worked for me. Can I help other people? And that's where mycyberpath.com comes in with the 12 archetypal work roles. Because the other piece that I found when I was trying to look for a career pathway was that there are so many work role titles out there. It's very confusing for people. So if you look at the NIST framework, there's 50 plus work role titles. If you go out to LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, so many are out there. Each role has its purpose on that team, but it's hard to target that job for 10 years down the line if you don't know which job to get now. So that's where the 12 archetypal cybersecurity work roles came from in mycyberpath.com that map to all of the other work role titles that are out there. So that is it in a nutshell.
I think, can I just jump back though, because absolutely spot on. However, I want to just say something that I think we might have missed here, where I think my cyber path hits the mark for where I was personally 2 years ago, which is not being aware of those 50 odd roles in cybersecurity and maybe being focused on the thing that you read the most about, which for me was the glamorization of pen testing. And I know for other people, it could be SOC analyst, it could be something else. But again, what you've done is you've mapped out and clearly show all the different roles available, which I think is so important.
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the things where in the pathways, all of the experience section has the jobs. There are 3 layers across those 4 categories that make you a whole cyber professional. So the 4 categories again are certifications, experience, training, and education. What I did with mycyberpath.com was leverage the existing great work that's already in our industry. mycyberpath.com is a tool to map your interests and personality traits to those work roles. So you can see across foundational, intermediate, and advanced certifications, experience, training, and education to pursue relative to your matched role in your interests. So it saves you time and money. There's a free version, so go get matched, please. Use the heck out of the algorithm. And then if you want to see all the mappings to the actual work roles in the NIST framework, CyberSeek, and then all of the other recruiting platforms that are out there, LinkedIn's the biggest one, Indeed, and then ZipRecruiter, the actual work role titles for each of those archetypal work roles are in the pathways. So it was a lot of work, but it's very beneficial when I talk to people and show them once they get into the platform. And once you get past the $3 a month to get the subscription, you can see the full pathway and those jobs that are tailored for those individual work roles.
I think the matching of personality is so important. And for me, even thinking now I know what the role of a penetration tester actually is, knowing my personality and knowing what I suppose I enjoy, how I enjoy spending my time, I now realize that would have been probably a terrible mistake on my part, because the one thing I hated before was reporting and writing reports. And obviously as a pen tester, it's a massive part of that.
Very big part. And that's some of the other empirical evidence that I found over the 20 years that I was in the military and, being a CISO, is that you can find people that are very gung-ho, excited, motivated to become an ethical hacker or a pen tester until they find out just how much work that is. Now, you have to be extremely good at a myriad of disciplines in order to be a world-class, let's say, nation-state exploiter. If you're going to be, and there's nothing wrong with targeting that, but if your personality doesn't lend that, mine doesn't. I'm not a hacker. I'm a cyber leader. So all of what I mean by that is leverage the people that are good at that. And mycybervet.com and myself, what I do, I'm passionate about that there's a place for everyone on the cybersecurity team. So if you're not good at math and you can't code, it's still okay. You have a spot. The majority of my day job as a CISO is not hacking. It's not even threat hunting. It's monitoring controls and processes and making sure that my team is motivated to do the job that they need to do. It's not, you're on keyboard hacking. That might be, there are some intelligence community agencies that do focus on that every day. But in order to get to that spot, you have to be one of those world-class, exploiters. And some people, you can target that, you can go after that, but there's a systematic way to do that. And that's what I think I found within mycybervet.com and the matching algorithm.
I think it makes a huge difference. I noticed we've got a question in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Chimaria, big thanks as well for just pointing out, if you have got a question, please mark it with a Q. Simon is nearly 50. Eyesight's not great. And it really helps me identify those next questions. So it was Jason, if I can find it. Where was it? There we go. No, it wasn't Jason. It was Aaronix. Here we go. I'm looking to progress to CISO in my next role, currently called cyber specialist, but in reality, I cover and offload work from current CISO. What are your best tips, I suppose, for taking that next step?
Sure. Yeah. So this is what I did. It sounds like, if I understand the question correctly, that the person's asking in their current role, they're not a CISO, they're a cyber specialist. They're trying to get to be a CISO.
Yeah.
So this is what
it's Robert. It's Robert. I know who it is now. Yes, that is
nice.
Absolutely right.
Yep, that's an excellent question, because this is exactly what I did when I was in the Marine Corps. So I'm taking CISSP, I'm taking Sec Plus, CEH, looking at all of the offensive security training or hacking training that I can get, all the defensive training, incident response training. I knew that I was going to be a CISO when I got out in 2019, or got out. We say that in the military, when you retire in 2019, I knew that I was going to be a CISO. What did I have to do in my day job 10 years prior and then leading up to 2019 in order to do that? So here are some actionable things that you can do right now, Robert, is that you listen to how I speak about certain cyber concepts, listen to how others speak, and then apply that to you. Take that in, and then use your words to explain the cyber concepts in a different way. Because one of my other biggest jobs during my day job as a CISO is translation and making sure that communication actually occurs, right? So communication occurs on the listener's terms. So if you're not explaining things in a way that they can understand, you're not being effective. Now, it's a two lane road where the person has to want to hear what you're saying, and then you have to deliver it effectively. So understand the concepts that CISOs talk about, right? We have one leg in engineering to talk to and task and work with the engineers, but you also have another leg to talk to the executive members, the board members, and the regulators who may not be as technical as the engineers. You have to be able to understand the engineering concepts, understand the common body of knowledge, let's say in the CISSP, and then be able to use your words to translate and basically educate the people that you're talking to. So there's a few things kind of packed into that. But Robert, that's what I would suggest, is that you act like what you want to be in, let's say, 10 years. Matthew McConaughey talks about that question that he was asked when he was younger. Who's your hero? And he, took a while to answer, and he said, it's me in 10 years. So think about what you want to do, what you want to be, how you want to talk, and just envision that again and again and again, and then practice it. Take small chunks and practice how you would talk as a CISO. How would you talk to the CEO of your company? Treat yourself as if you were CISO. You still have to do your day job, of course. That's how you pay your rent and buy your food. But add in pieces, and over time, that will become what you want.
How about trying to spend time with people on the C-suite within the organization? So trying to learn the language from the CFO, perhaps. And
exactly. I would say, and another piece that I did was went out and got an accounting degree, because what I wanted to do was speak the language of business. And that's a very important point, Simon, is that when you get out of the cybersecurity crowd, that's where you're going to hear their concerns. Their concerns might be something that's vastly different from what you were thinking that they're concerned with.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't care, in quotes. They do care, but from what you're telling them in cybersecurity at that moment, they don't have time to talk about that because there's a full list, let's say, of 100 plus things that they're trying to handle. Yours
Yeah.
might be 101. It is important, but it's not in the top 10 right now. So
No.
I would say any chance that he can position himself in a project that reports to 1, 2 plus levels above where he is now, and non-cyber would be very important. So that's a good point, Simon.
Do you think sometimes the terminology used within the cyber profession around risk is completely different to the terminology used by the C-suite when it comes to risk? I think for me, that was coming from a C-suite environment and financial services background.
Mhm.
The terminology of risk in this industry doesn't sometimes relate particularly well to the discussions they'll actually be having on the board and how they perceive risk.
Exactly, and that's something that the vernacular that you use. The French have a term, the patois. How
Yeah.
you use other people's terms, not yours. You're used to your own. You understand it, but using their risk terminology, their framework instead of your own. If you're comfortable with a certain framework, maybe they're using FAIR, maybe you're using Octave or something, or some other threat model like Stride LM or something like that. You have to be able to map that, translate it, and then push it out so it is timely and relevant to what those executives and those C-suite members are looking at for the business cadence. So I think it's very important to definitely completely, like, cybersecurity exists to support the business needs,
Yeah.
not the other way around. And everybody should remember that, especially if you're going to be a CISO, because you'll
Yeah.
find yourself out on your ear if you think the other way. Very
Yeah.
fast, they'll get rid of you, and they should. Security it has its place, but don't think it outpaces the business needs.
No, I mean, again, as much as people hate salespeople, unfortunately, within a lot of organizations, the salespeople are the ones with the power because they're the ones who bring the money in,
True.
unfortunately. And until the mindset changes in the C-suite to see, I suppose, security as a business enabler rather
Right.
than a business blocker, which again
Mhm.
is another role of the CISO, isn't it? To help change the outlook of the board and get them to see having a robust, security controls in place can help them get more business and help them keep their clients happy rather than we've got to spend another 6 million quid on
Yeah.
something else this year that I don't
It-
understand.
exactly. So I think one of the words that I try to use a lot is adequate. Is the security adequate for the business at the time that we're conducting the business to make sure that data is protected, breaches are stopped, we can respond in a orchestrated fashion to get the business back to where it goes, aligned with business continuity and disaster recovery, and spoken to within the risk framework and the risk terms that the C-suite uses. That is key. If people can do that and use use cases, you could say, leverage use cases that are out there where people were breached. And you can use the IBM or Verizon reports, the IBM cost of a data breach calculator, Ponemon Institute data to show correlations between how much data you have, your sensitive data in your organization, to how much it would cost. Now, of course, you don't want to do the doom and gloom thing. That doesn't enable business. That's just being a gateway. That's not an enabler. But you definitely want to share what can happen if the worst case does hit. So I think not even at the CISO level, but then also the entire team speaks to just that main theme of we're here to provide risk recommendations, not to be blockers to the business. We're enabling you. Here's what we think would happen or could happen based on likelihood and probability of the inherent risk, and then talk to them about residual risk. And it's not just the CISO that should speak that way. It's all of the analysts and
Yeah.
all of the threat hunters and everybody that's involved with cybersecurity. Because if you're not speaking that language, you're just talking gibberish, basically, and they'll tune you out after a while.
Very much. And I think the other thing you have to talk about is risk tolerance as well, isn't it? Or
Yes.
acceptance of risk is something that is uncomfortable, but in this industry, especially with Lloyd's coming out this week or last week saying
Mhm.
that they're going to exclude nation state attacks on their insurance policies. Well, having worked in the insurance game for 25 years, that opens up a whole can of worms or a whole new industry of ambulance chasing type detectives who will be investigating all of these big claims and getting them thrown out, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's big. That's definitely big.
It's been mentioned in the news a couple of times, but I haven't seen too much about it. But I honestly think that the implications of that moving forward, Jason, are massive.
Yeah, we'll see how that falls out, but that's definitely something to consider, and that's why that term adequate comes up a lot, and risk appetite, the risk thresholds that you were talking about. Our banks, where I work now, we have a risk appetite statement, and that helps drive a lot of the discussions that we have. Our aggregated operational risk, which cybersecurity is part of that. How does that fit into that? Where does it fall when we have residual risk of whatever level within that risk appetite statement? And if it's above or below that line, how do we handle that? And then that's pretty interesting when there are other, that's the cool thing about cybersecurity. It's constantly changing. So there's going to have that piece that you just discussed is going to have huge ramifications of which we don't entirely know yet. But now, being in cyber, you have to adjust for that, and you have to be agile in your problem solving to find out where adequate now lies with that risk threshold.
Well, I think my concern around that change in, I suppose, policy is how are they going to define who is a nation state hacker and who isn't? Because we
That's
have
a good
enough
point.
of a job doing that anyway within our law enforcement and our investigations, never mind insurance departments.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then also attribute that to a nation state.
Yeah.
Once you define what that is, then prove that it was that entity. That's another problem.
It sounds like a very litigious area moving forward, but there we go.
True.
Whoever this is, I'm sorry, it says LinkedIn user on my chat. So apologies, I can't see your name, but you've said it's always a big challenge for security professionals everywhere, no matter what security industry you may work in. It was every day having to overcome and influence those executives while in retail loss prevention. I completely agree. And at the top, culture of awareness is key. Strong culture of awareness is key. Thanks for that. And I think it's back to, I did my 14th episode of the CISO experience today.
Very
And
nice.
after all of the noise we hear in the industry about what tools you need to buy and what you need to be doing, the common theme that's come up with everyone I've spoken to is education, education, education. And it seems that it's the fundamentals that we're still failing on as an industry because we're trying to solve everything with silver bullets all the time,
Yeah,
perhaps.
exactly. Always trying to solve it with some technology, but it's people, process, and technology. And that technology spend and the technology itself is just that the adequate amount of tech, the adequate process, and I would say the maximum, quality people, the training within the people to produce and use those processes and technology to get to the adequate level of residual risk through cybersecurity.
Absolutely. I'm conscious I've taken us completely off topic because I'm really good at that. And I want to try and draw it back to my cyber path and how that can help people. So another thing that came up in a chat today with Greg Vandergast, who was a guest on the show this afternoon, he mentioned about how enlightening it can be bringing people in with no industry knowledge, because he said he's seen it on a couple of occasions where, you wheel someone in from another industry, they come in and they look about and they go, what the, why are you doing that? And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And he was talking in particular for people with ex-law enforcement backgrounds. I think one was a teacher, all one was a salesperson, all these different backgrounds where that can help. Now, LinkedIn user now has a name. Well, you haven't on mine. What is your name? Please tell me, and then I can call you it. It's just not showing up. So I think I want to talk about how my cyber path can help with that. So I came from a business and sales background, tried to go into the wrong role because I didn't know anything about anything like this. So for those people who are either transitioning from a military career or perhaps pivoting completely from a different career, how does my cyber path help with that?
Exactly. It's perfectly suited for that type of person. What the technology does at mycybervet.com is it matches their personality and their interests to an archetypal work role and then shows them a pathway in order to get that first job and then get that second job and then the advanced job across those certifications, experience, training, and education. So the differentiator between mycyberpath.com and all of the other psychometric testing and all of the other skills assessments out there, it's not looking to replace any of those. Like I said earlier, it's leveraging the good work that's already out there. So what this does is it asks you about your interests, right, across 4 areas: leadership, intelligence, supporting technology, and operations. Each of those 4 areas have 3 work roles, those 12 that make up the 12 archetypal work roles. So what you're going to be asked when you first go there, you can get a free pathway or free matching. You go in, it's going to ask you 2 stages of interest questions. And it's going to start narrowing down into something that is perfectly suited based on what you're obviously interested in, what you like. Then it's going to take your personality test. That's the next stage. Then it's going to map those 2 together. You're going to get a cybersecurity work role score, and then it's going to map it to one of those to 12. And then you'll see all 12 ranked with your best match in the very top left. So across those 4 tranches, you're going to see where you match up based on your interest and personality traits. So it's perfect for somebody that says, I want to get into cyber. I don't know where to start. Click mycyberpath.com. I want my cyberpath, and it'll take you right to the assessment after you put in your name and email address.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason. And we've got Gregor in the audience. Hey, Gregor, thanks for tuning in. I know you're in Germany, Gregor. Thanks for tuning in all the way over there. And also, I know you've just finished work, because you did message a little while ago saying you're having a coffee. So I will let you kick back, put your feet up and drink your coffee and read out your question, which is, how far are we away from KI being adequate enough to assist people and streamline processes?
KI.
I'm not sure what KI is, so I might need clarification if you're not.
Maybe AI?
Oh, AI.
How far away from AI being adequate enough to assist people in streamline processes? I think there's enough AI and ML in the existing tools that we have to, if it is artificial intelligence that you're talking about, I think there is enough of the machine learning and artificial intelligence built in to assist, but there are always going to be flaws, because right now, there's bugs in everything. Everything needs an update over time, right? Because humans build the code. We try our best to not introduce code reuse, other flaws, but it's inherent in humans that we're flawed. So when we build systems, they're flawed, period. So, what does help is when a computer is trying to attack, let's say, another system through, let's say, AI or ML means or AI, it's going to be faster than a human. So you need something to counteract that. You need something to be as fast. So instead of trying to do it yourself, obviously we have machines to do that. So I think there's AI in the systems now that help, and I think it's only going to get better. But we always need, I think, a human and a team to think logically and problem solve. We can never take that out of the equation.
No, I think you're completely right. And I mean, it's a whole other debate, isn't it? The whole AI and machine learning. I mean, a lot of the products we see out there that say they've got AI haven't. You're
true. Yeah.
You're talking about any of the buzzwords, really, though, aren't you? You then got, quantum. You got that in there. We've got quantum ready algorithms, which doesn't mean anything either.
Yeah. And I've always said,
if you're an investor and you see the words quantum and AI, you're in.
Yeah. What I've always said to people to try to explain who might be new to cybersecurity is that, computers are dumb, but they're really fast. So if you tell a dumb computer to do something, it's going to do it very, very fast. And if you tell it to do what it's not intended to do, it's still going to do it so fast that that's basically in large handfuls. That's how you break into a system, or borrow someone's username and password. That's another way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you able to show us any of my cyberpath today? Have you got the ability to bring it up on screen, or?
Yeah, I mean, if we were going to take a break, we could probably do that. If you want to show maybe something from another plug or something from the video.
Oh, I could maybe find one. Let's have a look. I just think it might be good for those watching to have a little look to see what it is. I'll tell you what I can show. I've got a trailer actually for another event that's on tomorrow, which is the Ultimate Hack Part 2 with Luther Chip Harris. So let's just play that for a second, and we'll see if you can bring that up. I think that might have been seamless. I'm going to have to turn the chat off though, guys and girls, just so that we can see it in full screen, but I will bring it back up in a little while. There we go.
All right.
Super. Thanks, Jason.
Yep. So yeah, just a quick overview of kind of what you see when you log into the platform itself. So this is past putting in your name and email. You're going to get a welcome email. You're going to get called back into the system. It's going to say welcome. It's going to give you some instructions on what's next. And what we're going to look at from here is the interest questions. So in the 4 blocks, you're going to see, inspiring action, solving puzzles, understanding technology, or if you like an adrenaline rush. So let's go in and say, I like to feel the thrill of an adrenaline rush. So you're going to choose that. Then it's going to actually ask you a second stage of questions for interest. And, very top one, legally breaking into computers and networks. That's pretty fun. Of course, you always have to have authorization to do so, but it is extremely fun. Second question for in the adrenaline kind of interest is stopping people from breaking into computers and networks. And then the third is going to be figuring out how hackers break into computers and networks. And when you see the results from these, you'll associate the 3 archetypal work roles with these questions here. But it's not asking you if you want to be a hacker. It's not asking you if you want to be an incident responder. It's just asking if you like to break into things. And some people do. It's a lot of fun, legally, of course. Then figuring out how people broke in. How did those hackers actually break in? That's a lot of fun, too. And there's a lot of excitement in the industry, and that's why it's focusing only on interest questions for concepts of the work that will eventually be done for each of these work roles. So you'll go through and rank these 1 through 3, click next, and then this is where you're going to take a short personality survey. So you're going to say, go through and answer as you are, not that you would like to be, because what you want to do is make sure that, and I'm making these up now, this is not actually me. So you could say, answer as honestly as possible, because when it matches these scores, it's going to come back and tell you your best match. So my best match across all 12 is offensive security, legally breaking into networks, right? And then it's going to be defensive and then incident responder as you go from left to right. What you'll see next in the next tranche is the leader area, or the cyber leader, planner, and strategist roles. Then you'll see how technology works. So that's technologist, infrastructure architect, and then software developer. And then you'll see the last 3, which are the analyst types. Cyber analyst, tech focused, human focused, and then you see malware analyst in the middle. So let's go up to our best match. If you go up to your best match, what I had, if you pay the $3.33 a month, then you have lifetime access. What you can do is choose that, and it'll assign your pathway, but we won't do that just yet. What you can do is preview with the free version and also with the paid version any of the pathways that are there. So there's an ability, and I've been filling some of these out already. That's why
Can I just jump in really quickly? This isn't pre-rehearsed, so you might get really cross with me. What I'd like to do is I'd like to pay for 3 of our viewers to have this for a year. Is there a way I can make a payment to get people's accounts upgraded to a full account if we do a giveaway at the end?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. In that case, then, InfoSec Live have got a little bit of budget at the moment for training, and we've got a new sponsor who I haven't announced yet because it's not until September, who's going to be basically sponsoring 2 or 3 individuals and paying for their exams over the course of the next 6 months. And my intention is to utilize my cyber path as the way to steer them towards their careers. So what I want to do to sort of release that news and announce things a little bit, let's do a bit of a giveaway. We've got a few people watching here. I'm prepared to pay for 3-year accesses to my cyber path. If you'd like to win one of those, drop win in the comments below. And at the end of the show, I'll randomly pick out 3 of you to win. Anyway, back to you, Jason.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you. Wow.
My pleasure. I honestly think, we can say this out loud as well. I've got no financial arrangement with you with regards to commission or anything like that. The reason I'm doing this is because I genuinely think it can help a lot of people who are coming into the industry like I did 2 years ago with no clue what to actually do, and it could save people a lot of hassle. So
very much so. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm very happy to help people. So this is great. Very unexpected. Thank you. Very generous.
Pleasure.
We're in the preview of the offensive security cyber pathway. And you'll see here that you can track your progress in the top right. It tells you a little bit about what offensive security is, which you got matched to, or which I just got matched to. Then you'll see those areas, the certifications, experience, training, education to pursue relative to the matched offensive security role based on your interests and your personality traits. The other piece is the mapping. I'll get into that in a second, but first let's just go through some of the examples. Let's look at some of the certifications. And these are certs that are applicable to offensive security. I'll take some of these out here. And that's basically how you track your progress. So you'll see foundational, intermediate, and then advanced certifications. Now, there are some that are more preferential to some people based on they like CompTIA, more so than another, or they've heard of it more and they think it might be more relevant to them. But the way that these are structured, and this is the offensive security certifications, is that you have a choice between Security Plus or CEH, or you can get them both. It's up to you. And if you wanted to go view the cert, you just go straight. It'll take you straight to the CompTIA website. If you wanted to go to CEH, you just click View Cert, and it goes there. Hopefully, you can still see that piece. And then also, the marking is done. So you can either mark it down here to track your progress, and then you'll see that show up on this screen here or on the top right. So as you go through foundational, intermediate, and advanced, obviously they're going to get more difficult. The gold standard for offensive security professionals is from a company called Offensive Security, the OSCP, and that's pen testing with Kali Linux. And they have some others. Excellent company. If you can get those certifications right off the bat, you are a very rare breed. And give me a call because I want you on our team. Back on, and I can't see the other screen.
You're just saying that because I failed mine 2 years ago, aren't you?
And no. There are plenty of people.
I will. Do you know what? Even though I'm never going to be a pen tester as a job, I am going to pass that exam, and I've set my target by my 50th birthday. So I've got 2 years and a few months left to get it done. We'll see.
Very nice. Yeah, and a lot of times, when I'm talking to people and they say, I failed this exam or I failed that exam, and especially when it comes to offensive security certifications, I'm not sure if like a failure isn't necessarily a failure. You just didn't happen to pop all the boxes.
It really was.
It is difficult, and if you get through however many boxes, that's good.
I got one, and it taught me that I'd kind of skipped the whole networking part out of my learning journey. So I'd gone from CompTIA A+, hadn't followed a pathway, got distracted by Hack the Box, had lots of fun on there, thought I was really, really good, had an interview for a job as a junior pen tester who told me basically I needed to get OSCP. I had no idea what that meant. So we spent money at the time that I suppose we didn't have for me to stress for 3 months and spend loads of time in labs and being told try harder by the help desk people, which, I get why they do that, but it got quite frustrating. And for me, I wouldn't change spending the money because it taught me that I was nowhere near where I needed to be. And even though it was a hard lesson to learn, it was a good lesson to learn as well.
Exactly. And my reference to certifications that are good because they show a level of technical competence, that's exactly, it's going to, especially OSCP, it's going to expose people to where they need to be more disciplined. And like they say, try harder. But no one would ever know that unless they took those certifications to find out where they needed to practice more.
Absolutely.
So, and let's look at the experience piece, and then we can look at the mapping piece. And then we can move on to other questions if nobody has questions now. So what we're seeing with the experience piece is that I'll zoom out just a bit, is still foundational, intermediate, and advanced. So let's say that you wanted to be a CISO, right? Question came in earlier. What do I have to do now in order to be a CISO? Well, these pathways show what jobs you can get if you're brand new out of school, brand new out of college, high school, wherever, to start. Let's say you wanted to be a network analyst, a vulnerability analyst. Okay, there's the first job that I'm going to get. And you can actually view the job too. I don't think it'll show up here.
No, I think it just shows the one screen. Yeah,
But if
but
you click,
what it does is it takes you straight through to the Indeed or the link or the LinkedIn site, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, it
Yeah.
takes you to that very specific job in your location that shows you the jobs that are available for vulnerability analyst. And the reason that's important is that you can go from vulnerability analyst targeting the next set of certifications, training, and education to get in order to go be a pen tester, to go be a cyber threat hunter. So let's say that was
Do you mind just covering this question off? So I noticed Kimberly's in the chat. Nice to see you, Kimberly. Haven't caught up for a long time. We're well overdue a chat, actually. Said I get so distracted. Welcome to my world.
yeah.
I'm like a dog who sees a ball going past and then runs off after it. She says, still trying to figure my route, my technical side route at least. Is this platform focused on mostly technical security jobs?
It focuses on both. So there, I think there's two parts. I'll answer the last question first, and then I think a question behind the question that I see. So the technical security jobs are in here. One of the very differentiator and a very a benefit from using mycyberpath.com is it takes your interests and personality traits, then matches you to the one of the 12 best match, 12 archetypal cybersecurity work roles. You don't have to stick with that best match. All it's doing is saying that this is the best match that we found through our technology. You can choose any of the other 12, any of the other 11 that you want. So for instance, let's say I got mapped to, or got matched to offensive security, but I wanted to be a CISO. Just scroll down to the next level, click choose on cyber leader, and you're off and running. But if you're into technical security roles, this is exactly what offensive security, defensive security, malware analyst, cyber analyst tech, incident responder, those are all very technical roles. Then if you wanted to do planning roles or more leadership type roles, that's cyber planner, cyber leader, and cyber strategist. Incident responders can be sometimes non-technical depending on the role. But this is why I made this for questions exactly like that, because it is very confusing to try to figure out what path do I follow. And Simon, that's why thank you for having which pathway, because that's so true. It is very difficult for people to figure this out if you haven't gone through the mud to get where we are. I mean, it's taken a long time to get where I am right now, but here I am, and that's why I'm trying to give back as much as possible.
Let's not forget though, the journey's got to be the enjoyable part as well, which goes right back to the whole point of this, of making sure that you map it to what your personality traits and your likes and dislikes are, because you could get 18 months down the road of a study journey on the wrong pathway and realize then you've got to go back and start again, perhaps.
100%. And that's, one of the things, that's why I focused on the interests and added it to the personality. And that's a big differentiator between all of the other kind of psychometric testing and the platforms that have psychometric testing, and also skills assessment. Skills assessment is another item that MyCyberpath does not do. MyCyberpath.com matches and maps. And that's why I'm working with other organizations that do skills assessment. That's not what we do. We provide a very specific service to people. And what it does is it matches you and then maps your career for questions that people are, asking even live right now. And I think there's I
think from my point of view, Jason, also it's maybe because I'm a salesperson and I'm cynical, right? But the one thing we do need to get across that you never mentioned that I think's tremendously important is that you don't have any affiliate links with any of these solutions on here. So where you come out with the exam routes, whether it's CompTIA, whether it's SANS or whoever it might be, there's no financial reward for you in that. These are what you've mapped using your knowledge, the NIST framework, and all the other bits and pieces that you've pulled together. I think that is super important for us to get across.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. It's mycyberpath.com provides the focus and clarity for the platforms, training, and educational institutions that are out there already. This is certification, experience, training, and education agnostic to to any organization. This is its own organization. It's here for the people, and it's here for any human that's interested in cybersecurity.
Yeah, and this is why we're going to adopt this in the InfoSec Live community for those who want to come on our journey with us for our new kind of training schemes that we're putting together. We're pulling together loads of volunteers in the community at the moment, all of the free and affordable resources out there that map to this. So you'll have all of your paid for exams and traditional ones that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. But what we're going to do as a community in Q4 this year is also map all of those free and affordable resources. So those people who go on the My Cyber Path journey, they can then be provided, I suppose, help, support, and guidance from within the community to give people that little bit of extra help. And what I'm trying to do is build a boot camp mentality without any boot camp costs, because the amount of people in the industry like yourself and other leaders within InfoSec Live who are prepared to give up their time for free, I think we can put something in place with a little bit of work and a little bit of community effort that can really, really help people moving forward.
Yep, that sounds great. Yeah, thank you, Simon. The other piece that the person mentioned was focus. And that's a huge part of, I would say, life in general now, when you're trying to study, when you're trying to work, is focusing on what matters. You know, in the risk frameworks, we measure what matters to talk about what matters. What mycyberpath.com does is it provides, like I stated earlier, the focus and clarity for your cybersecurity career. So there's nothing in here that takes you off of that pathway. So if you start with the end in mind, as Covey says, then you know where to start to efficiently get to where you want to go. Now, life is going to get in the way, real life things like death, injury, sickness, and things like that. But at least you know where you're going with your cybersecurity career. So that what you see in these certifications, experience, training, and education are the very top level of each of those that we found. And that mainly applies to certification and education, right? So the certification, I know a lot of people are talking about the PMPT, and we can evaluate those to see if they need to go into the pathways. And that's another beauty of mycyberpath.com, is that if something was to change, we would look at the criteria for that and then see if it needs to be added. But what you see now are the gold standards for each of the work roles for those certifications and those certifying bodies that have been around for a long time and that have the most applicability for, once you get those certifications, that you can use those in your day-to-day job. It's not you get the certification and then you just pay the annual maintenance fee and it looks good on your resume. You actually use the work that you did to get the certification day to day.
And that is so important. But I do think we've got to jump in the chat. I'm a little bit concerned about Splodge. So Splodge Burton's made a couple of comments. First one, it had no idea which path to follow, or I had an idea. I'm not sure which one it was. But the last one, Splodge, psychometric tests say I'd be great at all the roles. It's either Splodge has got multiple personality disorder, or does this mean he's just good at everything, Jason? Can we clarify that?
I think that, right. So I think that's why I think. This is why I matched interest and personality traits. Personality traits are immutable. They don't change, right? The interest, you might be interested in something when you're in your teenage years. That will most likely change as you get older. So that's why I combine those two, because like you were stating earlier, you might get burned out after 18 months after picking, let's say you wanted to be a ethical hacker. 2 years down the line, you figure out that you made the wrong choice. That's a long time and a lot of time, money, and energy to put into something that is not, immutable to you, where you can sit in front of a computer screen and keep getting failures, right? Because hacking is probabilistic. When you send something across the wire, it may be the correct package, may be the correct round, so to speak, that the exploit that you send, but maybe something happened in the electrons that it never got there. Doesn't mean that you were incorrect, just something happened on the other end. Can you actually take that 10, 15, 20 times when it doesn't work, and then on the 21st time it does work? You have to have the personality that's suited to that in order to be successful in that. Can you sit there and stare at a screen?
No.
Continually not. Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating. Go take the OSCP and see what it feels like.
No, it drove me absolutely insane. I think that's such a good point. Gregor's made a point in there. Would it be possible to choose like 2 pathways and sort the interest from there? I think you can, but you've got to pay twice, I think, Gregor. Is that right?
we're adding. Yeah, we're going to add on to in the roadmap. We have that option. So right now it's 1, and then if you used another email address, you can get another if you wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sorry, carry on, Jason. I keep interrupting.
Nope, not at all. So for the experience piece, this is the piece that it is. There are so many differentiators between what you're seeing here with the MCP cybersecurity career platform, is that you can actually target, like I was saying earlier, if you wanted to be a CISO, if you wanted to be, a director of cyber ops at the advanced level of your career, it shows you the jobs to get in the beginning, right after school, right after you get out of school, or if you don't go to school, what job should you go and get? There are plenty of people who don't have degrees. I advocate getting higher education, but you don't have to have a degree to be successful. No. In the upper levels, they might require, some HR departments are going to require you to have a degree, but you might be able to get that later on. So real quick on the mapping piece. So back on the NIST NICE framework and CyberSeek, what I did was I took each of the categories and the work roles for each of those and mapped them to the 12 archetypal work roles. So you'll see in here exploitation analyst. Well, that maps to offensive security. You'll see other targets, threat analysis. Then there's other pieces that other categories when you see the color change, right? There's analyze, collect, operate, and then protect and defend. Each of those pieces in the NIST NICE framework are mapped to these work roles. And if you want to see the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the KSAs for each of these work role titles in the NIST NICE framework, all you have to do is click View Roles and then go to Cyber Defense Infrastructure Support. The reason that I did that was the NIST NICE framework is very beneficial to government jobs. And what I wanted to do was help the US government fill its cybersecurity workforce gap. And then you'll also see CyberSeek. CyberSeek is a great tool. They teamed up with NIST, and Burning Glass teamed up with NIST to create CyberSeek. Excellent website. And what I did was I took a mapping of CyberSeek and then also placed that within the 12 archetypal cybersecurity work roles. And you can also view those jobs here. So that's kind of it for the demo. You can go just to touch on what it did. It is going to force me to choose offensive security. But with I'll stop sharing real quick. There's never a situation where the algorithm in mycyberpath.com says you are not suited for a job in cyber. And that's because truly there's a place for everyone on the cybersecurity team. So it's a human screener for anybody that's interested in cybersecurity. You can choose any of the 12 archetypal work roles. We show you what the best match is based on your interests and personality traits. And then you can choose any of those pathways and then find the jobs that you need today to get the job tomorrow that you want.
I think it's awesome. And for those that were listening earlier on, I mentioned that I was going to give away 3 annual passes to 3 people who put win-win-win in the comments. I think we've had 5 entries, so I'm going to extend that to all 5 people who've entered, Jason.
Very nice.
I'll bring their names up one by one so they know who they are. Mm-hmm. But also, if you could just register with a free account for mycyberpath.com and then let me have your email, I can then liaise with Jason about getting the accounts upgraded to the full paid version. So let me just trawl back through the comments. The first one I think was in reverse order. Brandon, I believe. Brandon Talley. Here we go. So Brandon, congratulations. Please do register. Use the email address. Let me have a copy of it and I'll get that upgraded for you. Next one was, can't pronounce this. I'm really sorry. Havoshi Tavra. I hope that's right. So again, please make sure you register. Let me have the email address. And then we've got LinkedIn user. I think this might be you again, Brandon, but if not, if they could let me know who that is, happy to pay for another one there. Last or second from last is Gregor, my friend Gregor. Please, that will help you. Perhaps, seeing as you wanted to, you can now pay for one yourself as well, and then you can follow those 2 pathways. And finally, this young man, Ephraim, has recently moved to this country with his family from a not particularly nice situation where he was before. He's finishing off his degree in cybersecurity, and he has absolutely smashed all of the OSINT challenges in our community that we've done over the last couple of weeks. And I believe you're 19 years old or 18, Ephraim. And I take my hat off to you. You're an absolutely astounding young man. And I really, really hope this helps you as well. So
very nice.
There we go. Jason, so we've got 2 or 3 minutes left. Any final thoughts for the audience on those, especially those trying to break in?
Yeah, I'm trying to get mycyberpath.com out into the world. Relaunched in March of this year. So it's obviously a very small company. You're looking at, its primary employee.
Yeah.
So I do this when I'm on vacation. I do this late at night. So, work at the bank. It takes all of my time. If there's anything happening, that's what I focus on. But for mycyberpath.com, for anybody that's interested in a cybersecurity career, please get the word out about the MCP platform. Happy to answer any questions that you have through LinkedIn on cybersecurity careers. Please look me up. It's LinkedIn.
I'll
Jason
get it now.
Shockey.
Let me find that and I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay, and please link up with me. Happy to answer any questions. If you get a pathway, that's the easy, or get matched and get a pathway, that's the easiest way to help you navigate your cybersecurity career. But happy to help in any way I can. Thanks, Simon.
No, my absolute pleasure. And I'll reiterate again, Q4 this year, we're going to be launching in the community, I suppose, a support package for people, a free support package that will utilize my cyber pathway. And we're collating all of the free and affordable training that can slot in alongside the existing ones in there. And I know there's been a few mentions of EMPT, EJPT is another one. And I think, as Jason rightly said, as the industry changes, the platform will evolve and so will the community as well. But if anyone would like to get, I suppose, firstly, if anyone would like to sponsor this show, we've got a slot open for sponsorship for each one. And secondly, anyone who wants to get involved in helping us create this, I suppose, InfoSec Live free bootcamp, if you'd like to be a volunteer, please do reach out to me as well. And finally, for those who've won the year from InfoSec Live today for mycyberpath.com, make sure you send me a DM with the email address that you've used, and I'll speak to Jason next couple of days and get that sorted out for you. And I suppose, before I run out of breath completely, event tomorrow, we've got Garrett Smiley, the CISO of Serco, which is going to be extremely exciting on the CISO experience tomorrow evening. And then Wednesday, we've got episode 2 of The Ultimate Hack with Luther Chip Harris, where we talk about protecting national infrastructure, in particular industrial control systems, and what to do if you're put in that position and how you would go about doing it. So I suppose the best graphic or video to play us out on is a quick trailer for tomorrow. And a massive thank you again, Jason Shockey. See you really soon, everyone.